Okay, real quick before we start. Imagine your dad's work stuff flies into your neighbor's pool during a storm. Most kids? They'd help fish it out, say sorry, and that's it. But my guest today, Sophia, she stood on that foam, realized it floated, asked what it was called, wrote down closed-cell, cross-linked polyethylene foam, Googled it for 2 hours, found a supplier selling 40 pieces for $3,000, did the math, realized she could flip them for $6,000, pitched her dad for a loan, branded it with a cute Phat Seal logo for $20 on Fiverr, called it Phat Seal, sold 5 at the lake on day 1, mapped every house with a pool on Google Satellite View, printed brochures at the library for 10 cents a page, stuffed mailboxes all over town, posted flyers at gas stations and marinas, blew up on Facebook Marketplace, expanded into koozies and coolers and bucket hats, and now she's building a Shopify store to go national. That's not luck. That's vision. That's hustle. And that's what we're talking about today. Let's go.
She's got a mind, she's got a spark, lighting up dreams from dawn to dark. Tallie Talks, yeah, she's the voice, asking the questions, making the choice. Young hustlers rising, stories to tell, big ideas where passions dwell. Pull up a chair, grab your seat, let's talk the hustle, let's feel the beat. Tallie Talks, yeah, Tallie Talks, turning whispers into walks, dreaming big, take the shot. This is the place where dreams get called. Tallie Talks, oh, Tallie Talks, Tallie Talks. Ooh, yeah.
What's up, moneymakers? Welcome back to Tallie Talks, the only podcast where kids are making more money than your uncle who's between opportunities. I'm your host, Tallie Pennyworth, and today we've got a wild story for you. So picture this. A storm hits, stuff flies into a pool, and boom, a business is born. That's not luck, people. That's what happens when you've got your eyes open and your brain switched to opportunity mode. My guest today is Sophia, and she turned HVAC foam, yeah, the stuff that keeps your house from freezing, into a full-blown brand empire. Sophia, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tallie. I'm pumped to be here.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. Your dad installs HVAC systems for a living, right?
Yeah, he's been doing it for like 15 years. He's always got materials and tools in the garage. It's like a mini hardware store back there.
So one day there's a storm. Set the scene for me. What happened?
Okay, so this was a really bad storm. Like, wind was whipping everything around, rain was sideways, the whole deal. My dad had been working on a job that day and had some of his installation materials in the truck bed. He thought they were secured, but the wind had other plans.
Oh no!
Yeah. So the next morning, our neighbor knocks on the door and she's like, "Hey, I think some of your stuff ended up in my pool." And my dad goes over there, and sure enough, there's these big pieces of foam just floating around.
Just vibing in the pool.
Totally vibing. And here's the thing, it wasn't sinking, it wasn't falling apart. It was just floating there, all sturdy and stuff. And I went over with my dad to help fish them out, and I was like, this is actually kind of cool. I even stood on one to test it.
Wait, you stood on it?
In the pool? Yeah. I wanted to see if it would hold me, and it totally did. It was like a raft. And that's when my brain just clicked. I was like, wait. People pay money for pool floats. This is a pool float.
That's the moment right there. That's where most people would have just helped clean up and gone back inside. But you saw something else.
Exactly. So I asked my dad, what even is this stuff? And he's like, oh, that's closed-cell cross-linked polyethylene foam. We use it for insulation in HVAC systems.
Did you make him repeat that 3 times?
Dude, I made him spell it. I wrote it down in my phone notes because I knew I'd forget. Then I went inside and started Googling everything. Like, what is this material? Why does it float? Can you buy it? How much does it cost?
You turned into a full investigative journalist.
I went down a rabbit hole for like 2 hours. And that's when I found a supplier online that sold these foam sheets in bulk. A pallet of 40 pieces for $3,100.
Okay, so you found the wholesale price. But that's a big number for a kid. What were you thinking when you saw that?
Honestly, I was thinking, there's no way I have $3,000. But then I started doing the math. I looked up what pool floats and floating mats cost, like the fancy ones, and they were going for $100, $150, even $200. So I'm like, if I sell these for $150 each, that's $6,000 total. I'd literally double my money.
100% profit margin on your first deal. That's insane.
Right? So I went to my dad and I pitched him. I showed him the numbers, explained the whole thing, and asked if he'd front me the money. And he was like, "You're serious about this?"
What did you say? All right, moneymakers, quick break. But don't go anywhere because we're about to get into the good stuff. Real quick, if you're loving this episode, do me a favor. Take 2 seconds and share it with a friend who's always talking about making money. Send them the link, post it on your story, whatever. Because the more kids who hear this, the more kids who start building. And if you haven't already, hit that follow button so you don't miss next week's episode. Trust me, the guest we've got coming up is insane. Also, we want to hear your story. If you've started a business, or you're thinking about it, or you've got questions, DM us on Instagram at Tallie Talks Podcast. Who knows? Maybe you'll be my next guest. All right, enough from me. Let's get back to the episode. So, what'd you say?
I said, "Dead serious. I'll pay you back, plus interest." And I think he could tell I'd actually thought it through, so he agreed. But he made me promise I'd handle all the marketing and selling myself.
That's actually a solid deal. He gave you the capital, but you had to do the work. So you ordered the pallet?
Yep, ordered it, and it showed up like a week later. 40 giant pieces of foam stacked in our driveway. My dad was like, "I hope you know what you're doing."
No pressure or anything. So now you've got 40 pieces of industrial foam. But you can't just sell it as foam. You gotta make it a thing. Tell me about the branding process.
Okay, so I knew I needed a name that was fun, memorable, and made people smile. I spent like 2 days just brainstorming. I thought about calling it Float Life or Pool Pad Pro, but those felt boring. Then I thought about what the foam reminded me of, like it was thick, sturdy, kinda chunky, and I was like, it's like a Phat Seal.
That's amazing.
And then it hit me. Phat Seal, Phat. It's fun, it's cute, it's got personality. So I went on Fiverr, found a designer, and for $20, I had this adorable logo of a chubby seal with sunglasses.
$20? That's like 3 burritos? You got a whole brand identity for the price of lunch.
Exactly. And once I had the logo, I made stickers, printed them on waterproof vinyl, and slapped them on each foam pad. Boom. It's not just foam anymore. It's a Phat Seal pool pad.
That's the power of branding right there. You took a commodity and turned it into a product, so now you've got your branded pool pads. Where'd you sell the first one?
The lake. There's this public lake near us with docks where people hang out all summer. So I loaded up 5 pads in my dad's truck, drove down there with him, and just started talking to people.
What was your pitch?
I'd walk up and be like, "Hey, you ever get tired of those flimsy pool floats that deflate in 2 weeks? Check this out." And I'd show them the pad, let them feel how sturdy it was, tell them it's basically indestructible. Then I'd say, $150 and it'll last you forever.
And people just bought them?
First guy I talked to bought one on the spot. Then his friend bought one. By the end of the day, I'd sold all 5. Made $750 in like 4 hours.
$750 in 1 day. Most kids are making like $8 an hour babysitting.
I know. I was like, okay, this is real. But I knew I couldn't just rely on showing up at the lake. I needed a system. So I went home and got strategic.
Strategic how?
I opened Google Maps, switched to satellite view, and started zooming in on neighborhoods. Anytime I saw a pool or a boat in someone's yard, I'd drop a pin. I made a whole map of potential customers.
You were doing target marketing. That's next level.
Then, I designed a brochure on Canva. Super simple, just a picture of the pad, the logo, a little description, and my phone number. Printed like 200 of them at the library for cheap.
Wait, the library?
Yeah, 10 cents a page. Way cheaper than FedEx or Staples. So I printed a stack, and then I spent a whole Saturday walking around town, putting brochures in mailboxes of every house I'd marked on my map.
That's old school hustle. I love it.
And I didn't stop there. I made flyers and posted them at gas stations, marinas, and public pools. Anywhere people with water would see them. And then I posted on Facebook Marketplace.
Did people actually call you?
Oh my gosh, yes. My phone was blowing up. I had people texting me, calling me, DMing me. I sold 10 more that first week just from the brochures and flyers.
So you're moving units. You're making money. When did you realize you could expand into accessories?
So one day, I'm delivering a pad to this family, and the mom's like, "Do you sell anything else? Like, do you have cup holders or coolers or anything?" And I was like, "Not yet, but that's a great idea."
She basically told you what to sell next.
Exactly. So I started thinking, what do people need at the lake or a pool? They need somewhere to put their drinks. They need something to keep their stuff cold. They need hats so they don't get sunburned. So I started sourcing Phat Seal branded koozies, coolers, tank tops, swim trunks, swimsuits, bucket hats, pool noodles, life jackets. Basically anything that fit the vibe.
And you slapped that cute Phat Seal logo on everything.
Yep, and people loved it. They'd buy a pad, then come back and buy a koozie and a hat. Or they'd buy a whole bundle. That's when I realized, you don't just sell one thing, you build an ecosystem.
Multiple streams of income, baby. So now you're building a Shopify store?
Yeah, I want to go national. The local stuff has been great, but I know there are people in other states who'd want this. Shipping's gonna be the tricky part because the pads are bulky, but I'm working on it.
What's been the hardest part of all this?
Honestly, keeping up with demand. I didn't think it would blow up this fast. And also, managing inventory. Like, making sure I have enough stock without ordering too much. But it's a good problem to have.
All right, moneymakers, this is the part you've been waiting for. We just heard an incredible story, right? But here's the thing. That story doesn't help you unless you can actually use it. So right now, my guest and I are going to brainstorm business ideas that you can start. We're talking specific, actionable, I could literally do this tomorrow type ideas. No fluff, no theory, just real businesses you can build. Grab a notebook, open your notes app, whatever. You're going to want to write these down because by the end of this section, you're going to have at least 3 business ideas you could start this weekend. Let's brainstorm. That's the dream problem. All right, so you've inspired me, you've inspired everyone listening. Let's get into the brainstorm. Sophia's whole thing was taking a material, branding it, and turning it into something people actually want. So let's come up with some ideas in that same lane. What have you got?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this. What about compressed cellulose sponges? You can buy them in bulk for super cheap, and they're like these flat little discs. But when you add water, they expand into full sponges.
Wait, I've seen those. They're like magic sponges.
Exactly. So you could brand them as eco-friendly cleaning sponges, or even make them into fun shapes, like animals or emojis, and sell them as kids' bath toys. You could do a whole line, Sponge Buddies or something.
Ooh, and you could do custom shapes for parties, like little birthday cake sponges. I love that. What else?
Microfiber cloths. You can get a huge pack for dirt cheap. Brand them as screen cleaners and sell them to people with phones, tablets, laptops. Everyone's got greasy screens.
Facts. You could even do custom prints, like put funny sayings on them. My screen is cleaner than my room.
Yes. And here's one I think is really cool. Wood slices. Like literal slices of tree branches. You can buy them in bulk and turn them into coasters, ornaments, or even little signs. People love rustic stuff.
Oh, that's fire. You could burn designs into them with a wood-burning tool. Monograms, logos, quotes. Sell them at craft fairs or on Etsy.
Exactly. Or blank playing cards. You can buy decks of totally blank cards and turn them into custom card games. Like, make a game for kids to learn math, or a trivia game about your town.
Yo, that's actually genius. You could sell those to teachers or parents. Educational card games. Boom.
And then there's mason jars. You buy them empty, fill them with wax and a wick, and now you've got candles. Add some essential oils, slap a label on it, call it Cozy Glow Candles or whatever.
And once people love your candles, you start selling wax melts, diffusers, room sprays, whole vibe line. Multiple income streams, baby.
That's the key, Tallie. You start with one product, prove it works, then you expand. Don't try to do 10 things at once. Master one, then add.
Preach. All right, Sophia. Last question. What's your advice for a kid who's listening right now and thinking, I want to start something, but I don't know where to begin?
Look around you. Seriously. The best ideas come from noticing stuff other people ignore. That foam was literally trash floating in a pool, and I turned it into a brand. You don't need some crazy invention. You just need to see the opportunity and act on it.
That's real. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait until you're older. You just need to start. Sophia, you're a legend. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Tallie.
All right, moneymakers, that's episode 8 of Tallie Talks. If Sophia can turn HVAC foam into an empire, you can turn anything into a business. Keep your eyes open, your brain sharp, and your hustle strong. I'm Tallie Pennyworth, and I'll catch you next time.